Morning dear students, welcome to KLE's online classes. Let us continue our discussion on industrial finance. Yesterday in previous class we completed introduction to industrial finance and categories of industrial finance. So those are mainly short term loan and long term loan required by business units. We completed in previous class, and today we are moving to next concept in industrial finance is sources of industrial finance. See, the industrial business units are need so finance from different sources. Like these sources are broadly classified into two categories. See, in commonly all business units are required finance from different sources. Like in India, so mainly two categories of industrial finance are, first one is internal sources or we call own capital, and next one is external sources. Two categories of industrial sources. See, within the company or within the industry we call internal sources, and out of capital or out of industry or out of business units is called external sources. See, internal sources of financial business, see, are those which exist with the industrial units. See, the internal sources are those which are existing within the industry or within the firm we call internal sources. So broadly those are finance mobilized from own resources. See, the finance is mobilized by themselves, so with their own capital or sources. So especially those are share capital, reserves, and clubbing back of profit. See, the what is share capital? See, the shares are very important source of industrial finance, particularly for the corporate sector. See, the modern trend is towards formation of companies under the provision of Companies Act 1956. According to this act, companies have a right to issue share of building of fixed capital. Therefore, the Companies Act 1956 provide for the issue of two types of shares. So those are mainly, first one is preference share and second one is ordinary shares or equities. See, the second type of share are most popular as they are of small denominations and allow mass participation also. The capital acquired through these shares is also known as risk capital source, and Indian industries have acquired most of their finance by selling equities, shares, and percentage being 90%. See, the share capital is one of the important source of industrial units. See, these share units, issue of share capital is the right of industries and companies according to provisions of Companies Act in 1956, and they will be sold out their shares, equities and equities to public and will be earning capital. So being a 90% of industries or industrial units are acquired their sources from share capital. And second one is reserves. See, reserves are created out of undistributed profit. See, whatever earned by shareholders in their companies or industries we called profit. That profit is undistributed. See, a business unit builds reserves of its own resource for meeting emergencies or contingencies. These reserves utilized by companies or industries which circumstance is very severe, the economic emergence or contingent situations, business units and industries are utilized their undistributed profit so within their company or industry is called reserves. See, the funds accumulated in the form of reserves can also be a source of finance, and but this is not a popular and easily usable source of finance. It can be used for specific purposes only. See, the certain specific objectives successful and objectives fulfill purposes, these reserves utilized by business units or industries. And next one is plumping back of profit. See, it is also one of the important internal sources of industries or companies. A part of the profit are used for further development or expansion of a business. See, a part of the company's profit are used for further development or expansion of industrial units or expansion of branches of industries or companies purposes. See, the plumping back profit utilized by within their within their industry or company. So it is also one of the internal source of internal source of financial sector. Then in country like India, which capital market is not fully developed and rate of capital formation is low. See, especially India is a developing nation, will not be developed money market and capital market. So therefore capital market and money market are not developed successfully. Therefore even capital formation is also low because of developing nations are suffer from development of money market and capital market, and slow growth rate of capital formation is also one of the problem. Therefore, so it is easy to collect required amount of capital for the development of industries. See, therefore the plumping back of profit amount is very important for development of industries and expansion of industries and improvement of industries productivity and industries expansion and industries profit also. And the depending of on this source, so 5-year plans in India have also assigned importance to this source of industries finance. Even the 5-year plans are also suggested, so you should be utilized your plumping back of profit to development of industries to expansion of industrial units purposes. You should be right to utilization your plumping back profit, so suggested by planning commission through 5-year plans. And second one is external sources. External sources so are outside the industrial units. They refer particularly to the finance raised from borrowed resources. They include debentures, public deposits and loans from financial institutions. See, the industries or companies are taken loan from outside the industry, such as debenture issues, public deposits and loans from financial institutions like banking sectors. See, it is also one of the important source of industrial finance. A business and industrial unit can also raise finance from issuing debentures. Debenture is an acknowledgement of debt or loan raised by the concern. See, already you have much knowledge about debentures in your corporate accounting and your so it means commerce subjects. I am not going to explain depthly. See, the debenture is an acknowledgement of debt or loan raised by the concern. So there are certain conditions laid down for issue of debentures. A permission from the controller of capital issues is sought for the issuing both shares and debentures. See, is also one of the external source of industrial finance. Capital issue is sought for issuing both shares and debentures also. Debentures, so but these not a very popular source of finance, because it is only in recent years people in India have started buying debentures. According to the study conducted by Reserve Bank of India, debentures account for only 10% of the total corporate capital in India. See, debenture issues also one of the source of external finance, but the survey of Reserve Bank of India conducted present corporate world has used only 10% of debenture issues for fulfilling their financial scarcity, and even though the acknowledgement of loan or acknowledgement, debenture is an acknowledgement of debt or loan raised by the concern. There are certain conditions, so there are certain conditions laid down for the issue of debentures proposals. And then second one is public deposits. Public deposits. Industrial units in India raise finance by inviting public deposits. These sources of finance is unknown to the Western world, but in India it has become quite popular and providing so tough competition to bank and mobilizing deposits. In the early and mid 1980s, bank deposits recorded as a sluggish trend due to the acceptance of public deposits by companies. See, the companies or industries are borrowing external source from public deposits. In mid 1980 to 1990, India was facing a severe economical crisis. At a time, public deposits was played important role to companies and industries to fulfill their scarcity of finance. So therefore, but this type of financial sources was not popular in Eastern world, but in India in mid 1980 to 1990, so it was played very important role in fulfilling so scarcity of finance of industries and companies. The corporate sector offers attractive rate of interest on these deposits. On the recent years, public attracted towards it. The cotton textile industry in India has obtained a substantial part of its capital, so through public deposits. However, this source has contributed less than 10% of total industrial capital in our country. But the conducted by survey by the Reserve Bank of India, even though public deposit source is also used by India's industries and companies only 10%, and publics are always attracted by banks and industries or companies to invest their money in companies like in cotton textile industries. Maximum percentage of the people, they are depositing their money. And third one is loans from institutions or bank. See, the third one external source of financial industrial finance is taken loan from financial institutions or banks like ICICI Bank, SFC Bank, IDBI Bank, and development banks, state financial corporations, so Industrial Financial Corporation of India and Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, Industrial Development Bank of India, and Small Scale Industrial Development Bank of India, and Export and Import Bank of India. Like the short form of banks are IFCI, SFCs, ICICI, IDBI, SIDBI, SIDB, and Exim Bank are the financial institutions to providing financial assistance to industrial units. Here also the companies are using the financial institutions, so always providing financial assistance to companies and industries and companies are also borrowing so loan from financial institutions like we call it totally development banks and foreign capital also. See, another important external source of medium and long term finance for industries is the flow of capital, foreign capital. Industries are eligible to get loans and equity from various international institutions, particularly World Bank and depends World Bank. They have get equity participation also from invite individuals, but the use of these source depends heavily on the government's policy towards foreign capital. Even though the foreign capital is also one of the major external financial source of India's companies and industries, also eligible to take loan from international institutions like World Bank. But this type of loan is a burden on government. See, therefore, in recent years, non-resident Indians (NRIs) see are encouraged to deposit their money in India and also invest in Indian industries. See, the maximum percentage of the India's population, working population, is engaged across the world, and whatever they are earning money, foreign exchange reserves, they will be invest in foreign capital or foreign capital banks for encouraging industrial units is also one of the biggest favorable condition made by India's NRIs. So let me stop. We shall continuing our discussion with industrial financial institutions. What are the financial institutions are providing and offering loan to industrial sector? We shall be going to discussion.